And greetings and welcome to the QCast. This is season 4, episode 11. And as we get closer and closer to opening weekend of the season, we start to dial in on some of the cool matchups and games that will happen that weekend. And that's one of the reasons I thought about this guest today. The other reason is this is just an overdue guest. It's hard to believe that we're in season 4 of the QCast and I've not had on Clif Carroll, the head men's basketball coach at University of Mary Hardin-Baylor. Clif, my apologies for this taking so long. It seemed you should have been on like season 1, episode 5. But how the heck are you doing? How are things in Belton?
Man, it's a little cold down here. I know you Midwesterners are making fun of us, but had some almost late today. You had some frost on the windshield. I had to figure out how to get frost off the windshield. But we're here. Yeah, it's taken a while, Bob. I've done basically every other podcast, and my mother-in-law's a huge Pam Lipper, and
Yep.
she's a huge fan of the QCast, and she's been on my tail end like, when you gonna be with us? I said, I don't know. Bob's got to ask me. So this was for you, Pam. We're getting it done today.
Appreciate that. Pam's been a great supporter. I think, is Pam going to be up in Bloomington opening weekend?
She is coming. She has a cousin that lives right there in that area, and so it's going to be a little family reunion for her, and we're going to have some of her family come watch the games, and it'll be a lot of fun.
And what I'm referring to, folks, is Mary Hardin-Baylor is one of the 4 teams at the Sikma Hall of Fame Invitational up at Illinois Wesleyan opening weekend. It's going to be great. The Crew faces off against Wisconsin Stout. Illinois Wesleyan plays Ohio Wesleyan. Winners play, losers play. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll dig into a little more of those matchups. Kind of where I wanted to start with this thing, Cliff, is there's so many places. I felt like this was the most difficult QCast for me to prep because I had so many directions I wanted to go on this. The first thing I had to let you know is earlier today, this morning, I put Meadow, Texas into Google and Maps, and I had to hit that like negative button a few times before I found a town that I knew, like I was, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. Oh yeah, there's Lubbock over there. Coach, how does a kid from Meadow, Texas end up coaching the Crew? That's kind of going to be my first line of questioning. And first I want you to tell me about Meadow, Texas.
So Meadow's a little town out in the Panhandle, just like you said, it's southwest of Lubbock, about 30 miles. Little farming community. Cotton farming has kind of been the hub of that town. There's no stoplights, there's no gas stations, there's no restaurants. There's my brother owns. There's 2 businesses in town: the Cotton Gin, and then my brother owns a farm chemical and fertilizer store that he just put in a couple years ago. So there's 2 businesses there in town. Just like I said, it's farmers, and then people that work on the farm, and very, very, it's a special place. So great people. I love going back. My heart, like I tell people all the time, I bleed purple and gold. It was meant for me to be part of the Crew, right? Because we're purple and gold here. So I love where I'm from. I wouldn't change it. I go back as much as I can. I take my boys back. Of course, my family's still there, and it's just a little town. It's 1 mile square, and everybody knows everybody, and it's a really cool place.
By the way, am I correct here? Interestingly, am I wearing purple and you're wearing green? Is
No,
that
this is gray. This is my
okay?
Burley bow.
Okay,
It's
I was gonna.
gray. Yeah, maybe the lighting in here is a
Yeah, I
little.
was gonna say if I've got a little purplish on, and I thought for a second that was green. I thought just the stars had misaligned in some
Yeah.
way.
Hey, I don't mind green, man. I support Ron Rose, but no, yes, how a kid from Meadow, Texas gets to be a college basketball coach, particularly here at Mary Hardin-Baylor. And I tell people all the time, I'm the Forrest Gump of college basketball, right? So, there's no way I should be here. I was destined to be a cotton farmer in Meadow, Texas, and the Lord had other plans, and I was just, I say I'm dumb enough, but really it was just, I never said I can't do that. I never said this isn't for me, or this is too big or anything like that. Ended up finding my way on to staff with Bob Knight at Texas Tech there in Lubbock, and spent 4 years with him, and then kind of from there just went on, went to junior college for 5 years, and I was Pat Knight's assistant at Lamar for a couple of years, and then McMurray, for a couple years there. Got fired at McMurray and ended up out in Alpine at Sul Ross, which was a blessing. Everybody thought, man, you must have done something crazy to deserve that. No, man, Sul Ross was a blessing, man. They gave me a job when I needed one.
Yep.
I needed to feed my family, and Alpine is a unique place, and I kind of fit there. And then started having success. Won a little bit, and all of a sudden the best job I feel like in the country for me opens up here at Hardin-Baylor, and I was Randy Mann took a leap of faith, and along with Dr. O'Rear, Dr. Theodore, offered me the job, and I told him I would walk from Alpine to Belton if I could get it, so that's kind of the short story. It's just a lot of, like I said, I really, I joke when I say I'm a Forrest Gump of college basketball, but I really am. Like, Forrest just kind of put a smile on his face and did what he thought was right and had fun. And that's kind of what I've done. And so here I am.
And there's so many cool parts of that story that you just summarized. And one of the ones I wanted to ask you about, there's all these moments in your life where you kind of hit a fork in the road, and based on whatever path you choose, and it's not always clear what's the right or the wrong one, but that impacts the rest of your life. So tell me about a forklift accident and how that changed the trajectory of your life and helped push into this. I've heard some stories about this, but tell the QCast listeners about it.
Yeah. So, I wasn't a very good athlete. In Meadow, Texas, we play 6-man football, right? So down here in Texas, the really small schools that don't have enough numbers to play 11-man, we play 6-man football.
Right.
And, figured out how to have a decent career, and had a chance to be a part of the Angelo State as a walk-on, just come in there and kind of try to fight my way on. And so that was my plan. I was going to go down there and try to, give it a go. I don't know if I could have made it or not, but, we were going to try. And a couple weeks before we were going to show up, I was helping Dad out at the farm, and we were moving some cottonseed around and had a forklift accident. It tipped over and it crushed my foot. And so that was the end of any, pipe dream I had of being any kind of an athlete. To this day, it's still an injury I deal with to this day, but it's again, just part of life. Right. So I went ahead and went to Angelo, didn't really have a direction. Way too many, I laugh, man. There's a place called Roberto's, had the best potato and chorizo and bean breakfast burritos, man. So I had, a couple of those every day, and way too many Dr. Peppers, right? Mary Hardin-Baylor, right? It's Dr. Peppers, and gained a bunch of weight and didn't have good grades. And so it was time to come home. Mom and Dad brought me home, and the local junior college there up in Levelland, Texas, named South Plains College, was kind of a place that we all went. So got there and ended up finding my way as a student assistant on the basketball team. The AD at South Plains and my granddad were really close, buddies, swim fishing buddies, and Joe Tubb. And so I just went in and asked Tubb, if he had a job that maybe I could do. And so he hooked me up with the student assistant job with Steve Green, who's the greatest junior college coach of all time. And, if anybody wants to debate that, I'll win, but I'll debate it. Right. So I spent a year with him, and then found my way over to Texas Tech the next year working for Coach Knight. So yeah, that's, had a pipe dream of being a college football player, and ended up working for Coach Knight, and just, it's funny where God's going to put you where he wants you. I'm a religious guy. I'm a spiritual guy. And I firmly believe that, God put me where he wanted me to be, and he used an accident to do it. And, which was, I wasn't real cool with, but, I'm not going to question God. So here we are.
And I know that your time on the staff with Bobby Knight at Texas Tech, I believe at the time, was your title, were you a manager? Were you an assistant? What was your title when you were working with Coach?
So Coach Knight, he just had managers. That was it,
Okay.
And even GAs were considered managers, which kind of was an ego boost to, guys like Michael Lewis, who's one of the greatest players in Indiana history,
Right.
He comes back to be a GA, and Coach calling him a manager. But, that spot in Coach Knight's program is huge. Like, we did a lot of work. We got to do a lot of things, aside from rebounding for the guys and working the guys out and laundry and all the stuff you do. But those were back in the days of VHS tape to tape, and
right.
I had to cut a lot of film. a lot of film, thousands of hours of film, and so that's made me so much. I mean, I'm so much better coach now because of that experience of just going through and cutting out every University of Texas offensive clip, and then taking those
Right.
offensive clips and cutting out every, ball screen set and whatever. And you're watching guys like TJ Ford and LaMarcus Aldridge. And, I mean, you just think about some of the teams in the Big 12 during that time, Kansas with that run that they had, and Wayne Simeon and all them
Right.
dudes, Collison. And I mean, you think about Oklahoma State, kind of their last great run, Final Four team. And so, getting to do that job, some people kind of laugh at you. Oh, you were the water boy. Yeah, I was the water boy. I was proud of it, man. I got to do some cool things. Like, there's not many people get to sit on a bench and
Right.
Fog Allen, and I don't care if you're starting or if you're the manager on the end of the bench, or you're sitting behind coach getting him, Diet Cokes. And when they start doing that rock chalk Jayhawk, man, like your hair stands up, buddy.
Right.
And so that was a really cool experience. Not everybody takes advantage of it. Some people just go in there and try to do the bare minimum or whatever. Like, I was all in. Like, I would sneak in to every film session I could, like I'd go sit in the corner and try to hide from coach, and he didn't know I was there, and just watching film and seeing what he was looking at and seeing what they were talking about. I was a sponge. I know I drove coach crazy because I would just stand like right next to him during practice, and he would move, I would move, and I know I drove him crazy because it happens to me now, with some of our managers. Quit standing next to me, buddy. But I wanted to hear everything that he said, and I wanted to understand everything he was doing. It's so much so that I feel like I picked up some of his mannerisms and some ways that he moves and talks. Like, it's kind of eerie to me just watching practice film. I don't know I'm doing it, but you look down and it's like, man, this is kind of scary, but I remind myself of coach a little bit, the way he's standing, the way he's talking and moving and stuff. So, but that just comes from 4 years of just sitting there and soaking everything I could in. And it's really, I feel like my foundation as a basketball coach is as solid as anybody in the world, because I had that experience with Coach
Right.
Knight. I had that experience with Steve Green. I had that experience with Jim Segona as a young coach. I mean, those are 3 guys right there that are absolute. Everybody knows about Bob Knight. A lot of people know about Steve Green. Not many people know about Jim Segona up in Collin County, up in Plano. But those 3 guys are absolute rock star basketball coaches. So I feel like my foundation is rock solid, and the reason why we're having success is because I've had those experiences that I can lean on, and that I can really, I can think back to all the times, like, how would Steve handle, like, I know we went through this at South Plains. How did Steve handle this, or how did coach handle this when this happens? So I'm very blessed and very fortunate to be able to come up that way.
One more Bobby Knight question. You're the second person I've had on the QCast that has a really close tie to Coach Knight. Another really very close friend of me and my wife is Brian Evans, who he was the Big Ten Player of the Year in 1996 and played for Coach Knight on a great Indiana team that year, a couple of years, but 1996 was his last. And Brian told a very different story than what I think the world would see, in terms of when you see Bobby Knight clips and he's throwing the chair across the floor, some of these other things that became very public. What I took away from Brian is that Coach Knight loved his players, and that Coach Knight was a preparer to the nth degree. Like, you couldn't possibly be more prepared. Those were the 2 things I remember. Did you have a similar experience with Coach Knight? Was he a different person than the world sees on highlights? And talk a little bit about preparation.
Yeah, I always love when people, they find out my history and, oh, you work for Coach Knight. Just like, ooh, they don't understand. Coach was about love, man. And he would kill me if he knew I was saying this. I'm putting a secret out, right? But Coach was about love. He loved his people. And now you had to earn it. I'm not going to lie. Like, from everybody, from her All-American guards to the managers to everybody, coaches, everybody, you had to earn it, right? And you had to earn it every day, because it could turn, right? But he loved his people, man, and he took care of all of us. And there's nothing he wouldn't do for the people that really, were 100% bought into him. And this is what people don't understand. They hear about the tirades, and they hear about this and that, and he's, he is kind of gruff, and he could be a little scary sometimes. I mean, that's part of it, but at the baseline of Coach Knight is love. And like I said, he would probably, wouldn't want me saying this, I mean, maybe he would, I don't know, but that's what I learned from him. You got to love your players,
right.
And you have to, and part of love is discipline. Part of love is hard work, teaching them hard work. Part of love is teaching them lessons. Part of love is, the other part of love that people don't understand is Coach was a great encourager, and when he did kind of affirm something that you did, right, and he gave you an attaboy, like that meant the world to all of us,
right.
Players, managers, everybody. When you got the attaboy from Coach Knight, man, you were on cloud 9 because you knew you had to earn it. You knew he wasn't just going to give it to you, and so I learned that from Coach, like love. I felt like the magic of Bob Knight was upholding a standard, right? Like he had a standard of excellence. Like we didn't have team rules. Like I don't have team rules here. I can't say what his team rule was. It's probably not, I don't want to get you in trouble, with the foul language with his team rule, but just don't be an idiot, right? So it was a standard of excellence that he expects you to live up to. And it was tough. There was a lot of people that couldn't get out of bed every day and look yourself in the mirror and be like, can I be good enough for Coach Knight today? Like, that's tough. That's hard. And he imposed that on everybody,
right.
And which was the genius of Bob Knight, because that's why his programs just, we ran at a high level. Like everybody got stuff done. And that's why, because we were all trying to make sure that we kept coach happy. That was his standard, right? So that's what I really learned from him. And then preparation was immaculate. Like he knew everything, and it was great because he always kind of played coy a little bit, like he would always mispronounce the other players' names. He knew what their names were, but like, I mean, when you watch that much film and you're hearing Dick Vitale, the best one was Jamison Curry, right, from Oklahoma State. Coach called him James on Curry, right? He thought his first name was James and his last name was On Curry. So he said, that On Curry is a great player, and we got to do this. And we're like, Coach, his name's Curry. No, it's On Curry, So, so I always thought that was genius, right? Because it was a way to kind of disarm the intensity of what we were doing, but also it drove home like, hey, we got to be ready for this. So yeah, Brian was absolutely right. Like we were prepared for everything. I think part of the genius of Bob Knight was the simplicity of what we did. Like I couldn't tell you probably 10 sets that we ran at Texas Tech. Like, I mean, we just didn't have them. We had some motion entries, and we had some things, like, hey, get Andre Emmett on the baseline and cross screen for him, like stuff like that. It's just so simple. The way we guarded things were so simple. It was genius. It was absolutely genius. We could really focus on playing hard and doing the little things right and getting box outs and getting, we just had our simple little cues that we had to hit. And that's one thing that I really try to do here is just keep things really simple for our guys. That's one of the things I really learned from Coach that I think is translated to a lot of success on the court is, hey, just be really simple, be really good at what you do, be ultra prepared, but don't cloud your mind with things that don't matter, right? Like be prepared for the things that matter, and then just keep things simple and go win.
One of the cool things that Brian Evans said along those lines of preparation, they were playing the Fab Five, and there was a time down the floor that they're on defense, and Juwan Howard is kind of figuring out where he's supposed to go, and Brian says, "You're supposed to be at the elbow." Juwan Howard looks at him like, "What?" "Yeah, you're supposed to be at the elbow." And he was right. Like they knew exactly what they were doing. That stuck with me. One other place, because I think so much of your story is about the journey to where you are today, which is why I'm spending so much time on your background, and we can't get to all of it. But Sul Ross State, 2 years ago, in October, I was on a golf trip. So a buddy of mine and I, for his 50th birthday, we take our wives and we go down to Lajitas, Texas, to this famous golf course down the Blackjacks Crossing. So we're in Lajitas. It's near Terlingua, and there ain't nothing around there. And we were talking to someone, and I was like, "Where do you grocery shop?" And he's like, "Well, yeah, when we need groceries, we go up to Alpine." And I thought Alpine might be 10 minutes away. There must be a Walmart over there. I look on the map again, Coach. I have to do the negative sign. I'm zoom out, zoom out, zoom out. There's Alpine. and there's nothing around Alpine. And so then I thought to myself on this golf trip, I'm like, wait a minute, that's where Sul Ross State is. And how do you get kids to come to Alpine, Texas, coach? Like the fact that at that moment on my golf trip, the fact that you won at Sul Ross State was amazing to me. So talk about that whole experience and how the heck you build a winner there.
Well, Sul Ross was certainly an adventure, right? So, like I said, I'd been fired at McMurray. McMurray had a change of president, change of AD. I was kind of part of the previous regime. I just wasn't part of their plans, and that's fine. That happens in college basketball, right? But I don't ever run from the fact or hide the fact that I was let go. I wasn't invited back, right? So I was told to leave. So I'm back home and I'm looking for a job, and I can't find anything, man. Like it was one of those years that was just tough, and like my network. Usually you can kind of lean on your network and somebody will take care of you for a year so you find something to help. But like my network didn't have anything in it, which was crazy because that's when it started blossoming,
Right.
All my buddies started getting D1 jobs and stuff. And it's just tough. And trying to get the Sul Ross job and I can't get a call back. I'm thinking, man, if I can't even get a call back from Sul Ross, like at that time, no team sport at Sul Ross had a winning season in 13 years.
Wow.
And so
wow.
I'm thinking, man, if I can't even get a job there, I don't know if I need to be a college basketball coach. So I'm start lining up, jobs in Lubbock, construction, jobs, ag jobs, just kind of go back to my base thinking, man, I'm gonna go back to be a cotton farmer, it's going to be the end of it. And out of the blue, I got a call one day from a guy named Larry Tidwell. Larry was the head coach at Lamar when I was an assistant down there. And at the time was down at Texas Rio Grande Valley as the head women's coach.
Sure.
He says, hey, buddy, you interested in the Sul Ross job? I said, man, yes. I'm trying to get it. I can't get a call back. He says, well, I just talked to the vice president. We were college roommates, and he was asking if I knew him. And I immediately thought of you. Like, you'd be great down there. Wow. I said, yeah, okay. Well, I'll let you go. All right, well, I'll call him back. 5 minutes later, a former player of mine, Hondo Webb, his dad called Claude Webb. Hey, you interested in the Sul Ross job?
Wow.
And I told him the same story. He said, well, I know the vice president really well, right? So they were all frat buddies up at Austin College, right? D3, right? D3 takes care of D3, right? So Sul Ross had kind of, interviewed a few guys. They weren't real happy with what they'd had, and they're kind of searching. And so he reached out to 2 basketball people, and both of them had my name. Well, come to find out, I hadn't completed my master's yet. I'd started it at Sul Ross, right? So kind of a crazy deal. But I hadn't completed it, and it was a master's required job. So like my resume never even showed up in the applicant pool. And so we end up getting an interview, and I go down there and I meet with the president, Bill Kibler, and I meet with the vice president, Butch Worley, and the AD, Bobby Mesker. And it was just apparent that this would be a good fit. I'm from West Texas. Now, I'm not from that far West Texas, right? But I'm from West Texas. I felt like I could use my network to get kids down there. So it worked out that I got the job, but now you got to put together a winner. And we'd signed some good players, D2 transfer Jacob Dawson from Lubbock Christian, and I had Caleb Thomason, who ended up being an All-American, kind of just walk in and say, hey, he had a special deal where he had taken 2 years off of college basketball to take care of his mother, who was dealing with cancer, right? So now he's ready to come back to play. And so he just kind of walked in the office one day, said, hey, can I play? And so, and of course, we returned really good players, Alex Harrison and Rocky Feliciano.
Right.
And so, I kind of knew that we had a chance to be good. So I remember sitting in with our SID, Dave Geringer at the time, and he's talked about, man, it would be so great if we just get back in the ASC tournament and this and that. And I said, Dave, get back into it. Why don't we win our division and host the tournament? And he laughed so hard he almost fell out of his chair. So people didn't believe, but nobody had a reason to believe. It had been so long since anybody had won there,
right?
That just kind of the belief that anybody could win was out the window. And I'm just dumb enough, again, go back to be Forrest Gump, right? Like, I'm dumb enough to go in there and be like, fellas, we can do this, And so we kind of put it together and kind of hit our stride come conference play and won the division, hosted the tournament. And then it was kind of, we did it of the 5 years I was there, we won the division 3 times, made the NCAA tournament. And
it's amazing.
And, things that had been done before at Sul Ross, but only once before. And so it was difficult. It's a small town, about 3,000 people. There's not much local talent. lot of small schools right there around you. So it's not like where I'm here, I can drive 30 miles and I can see
Yeah.
all kinds of talent. Down there we had to really
Sure.
search, and we had to, really look for kids that would fit there. I knew I couldn't go to Dallas and get a freshman that was going to have to be out there for 4 years. They weren't going to make it. Like,
No.
young kids were not going to be happy at Alpine for 4 years. So we kind of took these kids from West Texas that nobody knew about. They turned out to be really tough kids and loyal kids and played hard. We had a lot of transfers, so I always felt like we could convince a kid to do anything for 2 years, like, hey man, 2 years and we'll get you out of here with a degree and we'll win. And so we had a lot of great transfers, JUCO and D2 transfers. And then just, we had some great players. Caleb Thompson was a great player. Tristan Lacombe was a great player. He ended up playing at the University of Texas.
Yeah, he was good.
But on top of that, they were all great kids. The loyalty factor at Alpine was with those teams at Sul Ross. Those were the most loyal people I've ever dealt with in my life. I always tell my guys now, they get tired of hearing it, but man, if you guys were as loyal to each other and as loyal to the program as my Sul Ross guys, with the talent that we have, there's nobody could touch us. So, it's different challenges for each job, but Sul Ross was more about getting out there. We're all in this together. Let's fight together.
Yeah.
And we had to be the toughest team in America. Nobody had more bus miles than us. I promise you. We run the bus constantly.
We can't imagine.
Any home games. Nobody would play us out there non-conference.
Right.
The 5 years I was there, I had one non-conference home game. That was
Wow.
a D2 came down to play us. So it was tough. It's a hard place to play. There's not many resources. You have to be really creative with what you do with your resources. But great people down there, heart of gold. I could always get a meal. That's one thing I could always count on. If we ever needed a meal, somebody would, some grandma would step up and cook it, So I love my time there. I love Sul Ross. It's a special place to me. I'm sad that they're going to D2.
Yeah.
That we're gonna, not be making that trip anymore. I'm sad that their leadership's taking them that way without getting into too much of it. But that really is a special place and holds a special place in my heart.
Your last year was the year that was 1920, and so the year that ended in the tournament being canceled, heading into the Sweet 16 due to COVID.
Yeah.
And that year, my guys end up playing you, Sul Ross, down there in where was it, in Concordia tournament. That's where the only time in his career, and this wasn't the game against you guys, Ron Rose, 2 tees, he's booted out of there. And then somehow the next night we end up playing you guys. You're up 1 with a few seconds left, and Doug Wallen throws in a buzzer beater to win that game. And again, when I was on that trip in Lajitas, and I realized where Alpine was, that is another time I got to think, I was like, well, crap, like Coach he almost beat us getting kids down there at Sul. Like, it all came together for me.
Yeah.
I had a special appreciation for the fact that we basically played you neck and neck for 40 minutes, which is unbelievable. Before we get into your current team, Coach, so another jump now from Sul Ross to Mary Hardin-Baylor. It is one of the elite Division III athletic opportunities. You pick the sport, whatever, in the country. How do you get the Mary Hardin-Baylor job?
Oh, I don't know. Forrest Gump, how does Forrest Gump meet the president? Like, you got to get shot in the tail, right? So, when I was in junior college back in 2006 and 2007, we played our regional tournament here at the Montaigne Center. I mean, at the Mayborn Campus Center. Montaigne's, I'm Lamar, right? I'm sorry. You have too many jobs, Bob. You start getting all this. Okay, so we're here at the Mayborn Campus Center, and I'm looking around going, man, this is nice, And of course, I'm 24 years old, JUCO assistant, But as you just start kind of watching and paying attention, I get to Collin County, and Mary Hardin-Baylor's recruiting some of our guys, and you start understanding that this place is a little bit different. So then you get to Sul Ross, you come out here for the first time. Of course, I've known Ken DeWeese for a long time. Me and his son, Kenny, have been friends, for a long time. I've known Ken DeWeese. He's a legend out here in Texas, basketball legend here in Texas. So you always pay attention to those guys, But I just remember coming out here with Sul Ross, and we're practicing the night before, and they have a cleaning crew up in the stands wiping down every seat, getting ready for the game tomorrow versus Sul Ross, So I just remember at that point right there, just thinking, man, like if Coach Luis ever retires and I could find a way to get this job,
Sure.
man, I think I could kill it, you know? So I just always made it a point to, you know, like you got to be prepared. Like go back to Coach Knight, you got to be prepared for everything. Like
Right.
I just made it a point that anytime I saw Randy Mann, I walked over and I shook his hand and I told him I appreciated him and I appreciate Mary Hardin-Baylor because I really did. Like,
Sure.
if you know me, I'm all about excellence, man. I'm all about like I really respect. That's why I have the respect I do for Illinois Wesleyan. Like I love places that really want to be great, you know. And so I always told Coach Mann that, and you know, the Dr. O'Rear, president, sits right underneath the basket on the visitor side, you know, so we have to walk
Right.
by him to get to the locker room. And I always took an opportunity to, anytime I walked by him, just to shake his hand and tell him hello, you know. So, you know, knowing that, you know, Coach Luis may coach another 10 years, but in 10 years, I'll be ready for it, you know. And
Right.
this ended up being 5 years, you know. So when I kind of found out that Coach Luis was going to retire through some other means, through some, you know, putting some things together, put two and two together, right? And so it's just eating me up. And it's the COVID had just hit. It was a weird time.
Yep.
I'm sitting up in New Mexico in my parents' cabin. It's supposed to meet my wife for spring break, and I was actually I was a site rep for the NCAA tournament in Dallas that year.
Oh, wow.
And so the folks from Whitworth come down from Spokane, and so there was some speculation that they brought COVID with us. And so I get a call from the AD at Dallas saying, hey, man, you could have been exposed. Well, at this point, like, we don't know. So call the Y, say, hey, you stay in Alpine. I'm going to be in New Mexico, like, until we figure this out. So I'm kind of bored. And, you know, so I just shoot Randy Mann. I figure out Coach Luis is probably retiring. I don't know for sure, but, you know, it's what it looks like. So I just shoot Randy Mann an email, said, hey, if this is inappropriate, I'm sorry, you know, but I have some information. I think Coach Luis is retiring, and I would, you know, love a chance to talk to you about this job. And I didn't hear nothing back from him for like 3 days. So I told my wife, I was like, man, I really screwed that up. You know, I shot myself in the foot. So sure enough, the next Monday they announced it, you know, and then me and Randy had a conversation shortly after. So, but it goes back to, you know, just you going out to Lajitas and thinking, God, man, how can anybody win out here? Well, that was our administration here at Mary Hardin-Baylor is if he can win there, what could he do here?
Absolutely.
With these resources. And you know, there's a little concern going from a state school to a Christian school. Sure. You know, I mean, we're unapologetically Christian here. Well, I mean, I'm a very spiritual and a very religious guy. You know, I grew up in the Baptist church.
Right.
You know, my father's a deacon. You know, so small town, Meadow, Texas. You know, and so so just there's a lot of things that didn't seem like it may fit that really did fit. You know, I really value what Mary Hardin-Baylor is, like our culture as a school, and this is the kind of place I wanted to raise my kids, and so everything just kind of fit, and we had to go through a pretty rigorous interview process, and of course, sure, you know, the world shut down, so everything's on Zoom. Luckily, right, I've been here several times, you know, playing, so I didn't have to, you know, come see the gym and stuff. But so I just think everything just kind of fell into place. Again, I think God put you where He wants you, and I think God wanted me here, you know, at Mary Hardin-Baylor, and I just thank God every day that He also wanted Josiah Johnson and Tyler. You know?
Yeah, right. And that I just wanted to go through some of the background and the twists and turns. I think some of the people that watch the QCast are people that are aspiring coaches, and there's so many lessons to take.
Listen,
like, yeah,
I should be a cotton farmer in West Texas, right? Like my brother grows grapes, you know, for wine, right? Like I think I could have got into that, right? I could grow grapes, right? And that would have been a great life. It would have been awesome. I'd have loved it, right? But if a guy from 500 population, Meadow, Texas, can figure out how to play in a national chain, you know, in the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16, Elite Eight, you know, like if I can figure this out, anybody can. I tell you that all the time, right? Like there's nothing special about Clif Carroll. I'm not smarter than anybody else. I'm obviously not better looking than anybody else. I'm kind of a fat guy with a gray beard, and, you know, I always tell people I'm closer to Santa Claus than I am to Coach K, you know, like even though me and Coach K are in the same tree, right? So the Bob Knight tree.
That's right.
He's that big old log down at the bottom, you know, how they kind of have clusters. He's that big old log, right? And that little bitty twig up at top, that's me, right? But same tree, right? Feed off the roots. So I tell people all the time, I get the chance to talk to a lot of aspiring coaches. I try to get my story out as much as I can, because there's so many people that are sitting at a junior college out in the middle of nowhere as a student assistant.
Yeah.
That says, man, this would be cool, but I just don't know. You don't see the path. And there was times where it wasn't cool. Like I sat there at Collin County for 3 years, and I'm watching guys get Division I jobs and full-time jobs that I know I blow out of the water, but they were a great player, or they had a family connection, or there was something that I didn't have any of that. I'm a farm kid from West Texas, so my path had to be different, right? And my network of guys, we have all these little sayings and stuff, but like one of them that really resonates with me is every man's journey, EMJ, right? And every man has a different journey. And every one of my coaches, like I have best friends that are Power 5 head coaches. I have best friends that are D2 head coaches. I have best friends that are out of coaching now, doing construction, and everybody had their own journey. And it's great, because sometimes I start questioning, man, what if I'd have taken this job or this job? And it never fails. At the end of the season, I'll talk to one of my buddies that's, working in Power 5 or whatever. He goes, man, you've got it figured out. You've got the great job. Mary Hardin-Baylor, baby. Division III life is awesome. Working for a great place like Mary Hardin-Baylor. So certainly blessed to be where I am. I love my journey. I love, there's a lot of lean days, and, making $10,000 a year and asking your wife to live in an on-campus apartment. It's not fun, but it all led to here, and I wouldn't change anything about it. And I just hope that, somewhere somebody can look at that and go, man, if that idiot can make it work, I can too. Let's get after it.
Well, I just think that there's so many lessons with every step of the way, your journey, that multiple people are going to get out of this as they try to make their own way. Talking about where the program is, Coach. So your first year, that was the weird COVID year. Texas teams played a whole lot more games than everyone else. 16-4, great season. The next season, you were 28-3. That's the season you end up in the Elite Eight. You knock off. It's at Case Western. You beat them in overtime. You lose to Elmhurst in overtime. Heartbreaker that would have had you in the Final Four. The next year, last year, you're 23-6. You win another ASC title, back-to-back regular season titles. You make it to the Sweet 16. Do you feel like is the program, and do you feel, I mean, you guys, to me, when I make my top 25 ballot, like I have a bunch of teams that I kind of pencil in and figure out where to put them. You're about there for me. The program is a consistent tournament team now. You feel like the crew's always going to be on that bracket. Do you feel like you have the program in a good place where you want it, or kind of how do you look at the progress at this point?
Ask me next year, right? like really, Josiah Johnson, it has been just an absolute blessing to us.
Yeah.
And I don't want to blow his head up. He's going to watch this, and his teammates. But when you have a player that's that good and that loyal and that type of guy, in the age of transfer portal, Josiah's he's had all kinds of chances. I mean, he could have played anywhere in college basketball at any level of college basketball, and he's chose to stay here for a variety of reasons. But for him, it's just what fits him. So you'll learn a lot about our program next year when he's gone.
Sure.
And when we don't have that crutch to kind of lean on. But go back to my time at Sul Ross, the first 3 years, man, we were really good. Well, he had Caleb Thomason, and Caleb was a special player, and he's a post player that couldn't jump over a newspaper, but he could get buckets, right? And just tough. And so, everybody said, well, when he loses Caleb, we'll see how good of a coach he is. And all of a sudden, we won again, right? So I feel like we're there, but I also feel like we got to prove it, and I'm not going to sit here and just expect that, every year it's just going to be the same. Like, we have to work hard. We got to keep the right kids here. But I do love what we've done recruiting. I love this year's team. I think that we've really done a good job of kind of balancing out the classes and making sure we have good talent all the way up and through the program. And so I appreciate you saying that, that we've grown this program to this point. And it does mean a lot to me, and hopefully that we're earning that respect nationwide. And, but we also have to earn it here, locally and within our region.
So you mentioned Josiah Johnson, and I've had a chance now to see him play in person several times. Most recently being the first round, the regionals, I guess we call them, at your place last year. Saw him at UT Dallas when you guys were up here, but incredible player, 6'1" guard. That I guess the thing I would just say about him, coach, is he makes big plays and he makes big shots. When you look at a highlight reel of the buzzer beater type shots to win games, to tie games, it's unbelievable. What is it about a kid that allows them to hit to shine in those kind of special moments? I mean, talk a little more about Josiah and just his makeup.
Yeah. So Joe, like you got to understand Joe at his core, right? So he comes from Big Sandy, which is not much bigger than Meadow, Texas.
Yeah,
Right.
kind of near Tyler, but a little town.
Yeah, little town, little 2A school. Great family. His family is awesome. They are so much fun at games, and just good people, good Christian people. Joe is just, I mean, he's got above a 3.5. I mean, he's 3.7, somewhere around there. GPA overall. He's done probably near 100 hours of community service this semester already. As a team, we're over 500, but Joe does some extra mentor stuff. He really cares. He does trainings, individual trainings of kids here in the community. He just really cares about Mary Hardin-Baylor. He cares about Velton. He, loves his family. He's just a really, really good person, at his core. Like he's just an excellent guy. And he's got that little extra drive that you just can't, like you can't teach it, you can't coach it, you can't. He's got that winner mentality. And sometimes me and him butt heads because what winning looks like to him and winning looks like to me is different sometimes. Sometimes I need him to make a pass, or he right. thinks, Coach, I'm Superman. It's okay, Superman. When you got 4 guys on you, let's make the pass, right? So, right. Which he's more than willing to do. He's not a selfish guy, but he's just got that self-belief that, you put the ball in his hands. I can't even tell you how many buzzer beaters he's hit. I mean, he's hit some big ones.
It's crazy.
The coolest one, I don't know. The tournament one last year was cool. You were there, right? Or, no, you weren't there for that day, were you?
I was there.
You were there. Okay.
Yeah.
But so people don't understand about that game is he had a broken wrist on his shooting hand, right? So in the conference semifinals, he gets knocked down against Hardin-Simmons and breaks his wrist. So we come out against in the first, we lose that game, get the at-large bid, thank goodness. Come out in the first round against Schreiner, and he just can't get it going. So we struggle a little bit. We end up beating Schreiner, but it's a close game. And then I don't know what happened that next day, but he just went to another level. And this was just like a little broken wrist. Like this is a broken wrist that took, he was in a cast for like 8 weeks when we get done playing. And he has 32, and he hits that game winner, right in front of our bench to beat East Texas. Have this. I mean, I've been a part of some incredible moments in college basketball. I don't know if I've ever seen that, because you go from shoot around that day where he can't bend it, and he can't dribble, and he just looks at me and says, Coach, I'll be ready. Don't worry. And I don't know. I don't know how it happened, but it happened, and it was special. And unfortunately, we couldn't get it going against, he couldn't get it going against Christopher Newport. I feel like we had a great matchup there. I really believe that day at Christopher Newport, had Josiah been healthy, you're probably looking at the 2 best teams in the country. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers saying that, and all due respect to Mount Union and Whitewater. And
it's a fair statement. I mean, that you were right there with those. I agree with that.
I really feel like that Sweet 16 game that night at Christopher Newport was the 2 best teams in the country. And then just unfortunately, Josiah wasn't healthy, and he still tried, and he made some defensive plays, and Ty Prince really took up the slack, had 32, I think, and had a special night. But, when you're playing a team as good as Christian Newport, you had to have all your bullets in your gun, so.
Right.
But go back to that round of 2 game, the 32, like that was just special. The other one that was really cool was playing at Laterno. So Big Sandy's like 10 miles outside of Longview. We're in anytime that we play at Laterno, Big Sandy just takes over. Like that's crazy. So they were all sitting kind of in that middle section across from our bench.
Right.
And we had worked that week on, all right, listen, into the game, down one, put the ball on the floor, get to the hoop, put pressure on the officials, get a layup or get a foul. And um, so, and we drilled it like twice. Like I made it an emphasis, right? So here it comes. We get a stop, down one, 9 seconds to go. Get the ball to Joe. All right, he's gonna put it on the floor. He's gonna go to the hoop. No, he dribbles over there in front of his mom.
Left wing 3.
Left
right?
wing. 2 guys come to him. He pump fakes. Questionable whether he travels or not. James Wallace says he does. I say he doesn't, right? But doesn't get called, so it's a moot point. And he fires up a 3 and hits it right in front of his mom. The place goes bonkers.
It was incredible, yeah.
He runs up into the stands. There's people that are mad because they think he's trying to show up everybody. No, he's celebrating with his mom, like that. And that was a huge game. Like LeTourneau has been one of the best teams in our league.
Yeah.
And to win there in Longview is a big deal, right? So that shot right there was, I mean, the NCAA tournament, because of the magnitude of it and he was hurt, was probably better, but that one was fun.
That was one of the ones I remember watching.
Yeah,
is the one there left. I could still see it, left wing 3 at LeTourneau. Unbelievable.
And to see him hugging his mom and celebrating with his cousins. And I mean, listen, man, like sometimes we forget these dudes are kids, they're
Right.
kids and they want to have fun. Basketball is a game. Basketball should be fun. You hit a game winner right there in front of your entire hometown, like have a little fun. Right. So, but no, Joe's just a great kid, man. I'm going to miss him. He makes me a better coach because I really have to be on my toes because he's so strong willed. Like if I heard a great statement this morning that it took 13 people to get Secretariat into the loading blocks, to get him to run that race where he wins by 33 lengths. Right. That's a little bit like Joe. Like you have to coach Joe every day to keep him, kind of focused on what we want to do because he's so strong willed that he'll just like he'll take off and do it his way at some point, which is okay because he's great, but we have to keep everybody on the same page. And so he makes me a lot better coach. He's a great person. I hope that when my kids get to be that age that they're just like Joe, that they take their grades as serious and they love their mom. And so yeah, he's a great kid and been a blessing to coach.
Talking about your team this year, I voted for you guys in the top 25 poll. Honestly, mostly because of Josiah Johnson. Like I kind of looked at it like I trust Josiah Johnson and I trust coach to have his returners ready and to have new guys ready. And that's, I had you ahead of ETBU, even though the coaches had the other order. Again, because I was trying to figure ETBU or Mary Hardin-Baylor. I was like, for now, I'm going with Josiah Johnson until I see something that proves me wrong. Your team this year, though, Coach, it's not a no-brainer top 25 just because you only return 2 starters. I think you return 44% of scoring and 31% of rebounding. A lot of the other teams I'm voting for returning 80% of this and 90% of that. You return Josiah, you return Kyle Wright, you return, let's see, who else is in the mix?
Zach Ingles.
Zach, right. You got some guys that were kind of coming off the bench or key contributors, but Josiah's your main guy. You lose Ty Prince, you lose Luke Feely. I mean, right there, monster losses. Those guys were huge for you, but you do have some newcomers. And my question for you is, who are the guy transfers freshmen? I know I'm looking at Ryan. I don't know if it's Pondent.
Yeah, Pondent.
Eli Beard, Maurice Pinnock, Jace Todd is a freshman that's got a lot of pub to him. Who are a couple new guys that as we're looking at your team that we should be excited about?
Yeah. So, I mean, right off the bat, we had to replace, Ty Prince and Luke Feely. We had a chance to get Luke Feely back. He had a year of eligibility, but, you're getting into that COVID stuff. Luke's been out of school for 5 years.
Right.
And he had a chance. He had a job offer, there in Dallas with a financial institution that was going to pay him, quite frankly, more money than I make. Right. So,
that's what it's all about, Coach.
And he's got a beautiful girlfriend that lives in Dallas that if I'm sitting in that young man's shoes, I'm telling Coach Carroll to go find him another big guy. I'm gonna go live in Dallas, right? I'm gonna go make my money and hopefully get married to my girlfriend, right? So, but yeah, huge loss. Great kids, unbelievable competitors. Fun to coach. Ty Prince playing over in Kosovo right now. Having good season right now. He's playing the same league as Buzz Anthony, so that's really cool for D3 guys. We need to keep our eyes on Kosovo, but so right off the bat, we knew we had to replace those guys. So Ryan Pondon he's a monster.
6'8", pure center, right?
Yeah, but he's a little more than that, right? So he's always just played back to the basket in high school and junior college, which is what we recruited him as. We kind of thought we were going to get, and all of a sudden he gets out here and he's dribbling and passing and making threes, and like, whoa, what's this?
Sure.
But you want to talk about a guy that has a different competitive spirit. Like he's kind of come in and very quickly Josiah has come around to say, hey, coach, I like this one right here, right? So, he's a big, tough kind of throwback player. I worry about him, being in foul trouble, to be honest with you. He's super aggressive. So, down here in Texas, as Ron Rose will tell you, man, we call more fouls than anywhere in the country.
It's a quick whistle, coach. I got to tell you.
So we worry about that, but he is a very, very good big body. And you just don't replace Ty and Luke, what they brought, but it'll be a little different way of doing things, but he's very good. Jace Todd as a freshman is as talented as anybody I've ever coached. I mean, he's still growing. He's just a baby. He doesn't have hair on his legs yet, and I think he's between 6'6" and 6'7". He can dribble, pass, and shoot. He's 38-inch vertical guy. So he's in here doing dunks and stuff like that. It's just like, wow. And he doesn't even know how good he could be yet. So dealing with some injuries right now, and so stop and go. As a freshman, you need that consistent practice time and get in there, and
right.
So he's got him to stop and go because of injuries. So it may take him a little longer to figure it out, but when he does, he's going to be really good. And then Zach Ingles is a big-bodied kid. He's 6'6", 2. I mean, I would guess probably 220 right now. He's just a big, strong kid that really understands basketball. He played about 9 minutes a game as a freshman last year, which is really, really good because that team last year was stacked with older guys. Like we were older and we were experienced. So have a freshman come in and find a way to get in rotation, he's really good. So I expect him to take another step forward. And obviously you got the three amigos there, Kyle and Joe and Peyton Brooks, just really good players and solid and good kids and play hard. So I really like this talent. As far as guards, you mentioned Maurice Pennick. He's as fast as anybody I've ever coached in my life. I mean, he is just a blur. And so you start asking him, like, man, like, where's this come from? So his dad is on the Jamaican national sprint team.
Wow.
He's roommates with Usain Bolt, so like he's fast, and he's one of those guys that, he's kind of a silent assassin. He doesn't say a whole lot, but just makes big shots. And then, Eli Beard, he's from Big Sandy. He ended up moving his high school out to West Texas to Seminole, but he grew up in Big Sandy with Josiah. And so those two guys have had a dream of playing college basketball together since they were little kids. Of course, Joe's a couple years older than Eli. But we finally got Eli convinced to come over. He kind of went to two different junior colleges and he is a spark plug, man. He's a guy that is instant offense, and his personality is huge. If anybody ever got to know him, like if we ever did in the big time divisions, they do the mic'd up games and stuff like. If you ever mic'd up Eli, like America would fall in love with him, man. Like he is just got such a great spirit about him. So so we got a couple other D2 transfer, LD Butler that we recruited out of high school that went to St. Ed's. We got him back. Like he's 6'7", good athlete, plus on the skill set. So I really like this roster. You're right, they're unproven. We got a lot to prove. Hopefully we get out there to Illinois and put together two good games and kind of get something that's put together. But the potential of this team, this team has the potential to be better than any other team that I've coached. Being led by Josiah,
right.
I think it's very clear to Joe that he has to be big for this team, not necessarily scoring, but he has to be Joe has the ability to be lockdown defender, which he's going to have to do this year. He's got the ability to be a great vocal leader, which he's going to have to do this year. So we're going to see the best of Josiah. I think we're going to see him have a very well-rounded game. You know, like when we first got him, he was all about buckets. And, you know, I mean, it's not really a joke. It's a drill that I have for him, that when he quit playing defense, I would put a chair at midcourt. And so when his team would transition back to defense, he'd have to sit down at midcourt and let his teammates play 4-on-5 and then field offense. The premise being that I just didn't want his teammates to think that they could rely on him, because they couldn't defend. That's how bad he was defensively, but he's really grown into being a great defender now. So you're going to see Josiah really have to step into a role that's going to be more of a complete player type role in an upperclassman, which will be fun.
You opened the season, I'm happy to say, at Illinois Wesleyan's Sikma tournament, which is cool. And I remember talking to Ron Rose like 2 years ago saying, hey, we need to get Clif up at the tournament. And he said, you know, we're already working. He goes, it's already a done deal. I go, what?
Yeah.
How did this come about? How did you get into the Sikma tournament? Just talk through how this came about.
So you go back to, I mean, not to be too long-winded here. I tend to do that. I'm like a Baptist preacher, man. I just go all day, right? But you go back to Sul Ross days, and I get in at Sul Ross, and I'm just trying to figure out, like, what is Division III? Like, I wasn't familiar with it. I didn't know it. I've never really seen it. So, you know, the best thing to do to figure it out is like look around, like who's good, you know. We start looking around. It doesn't take long to figure out that Illinois Wesleyan, Worcester, you know, at that time Platteville was really good. You know, you have, you know, I mean, you know, all the big boys, right? You know, Randolph-Macon was really, at that time, Emory and Henry was actually the better team, right? But Randolph-Macon was really on the come up, and but you really start researching, well, you know, Illinois Wesleyan, okay, and then you start reading about Ron Rose, and like, I like this guy. You start reading some of the, you know, watching some of the YouTube videos, and yeah, at the time he was coaching Brady, which I'm always a sucker for that, you know, like the father-son deal. I'm always a sucker for that, and so Brady was such a great player, and then we got to play him in Concordia, and you just get to meet him and talk to him for about 20 minutes. You're like, man, this guy is awesome. So I've really, and now that I'm at Mary Hardin-Baylor, I think that our schools are a lot more similar than obviously Sul Ross was. So I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I look at Illinois Wesleyan and I try to steal everything that I can. Like, how's Ron Rose doing this, you know? And I try not to just bug him too much and ask him, you know, but I do. I have conversations. Hey, coach, how do you do this? What do you think? And I hope he knows I really appreciate that. I probably ought to bring him a present or something, you know. But I've got the ultimate respect for him as a coach, as a man, as a father. I just think that he's awesome. And so, and I'm one of those guys that, like, when I have that type of respect for somebody, I want to go play him, right?
Sure.
And so I started bugging him about being in this classic, but I don't realize it's a tournament, right? I just think it's a classic. So now, like, there's a lot of pressure that we got to beat Stout, because if we don't beat Stout, we're not going to get to play them.
We got to beat Ohio Wesleyan too. Yeah.
You know? So now, like, I'm feeling a lot of pressure because I want to play Coach Rose, you know, a lot, you know, and I got to get him back. You know, that buzzer beater still hurts me, you know. So
it's funny, the kid that shot the ball and missed. So that was 5 seasons ago. Luke Yoder is the guy that missed the layup, and Doug Wallen rebounds and puts it in. Luke Yoder's our point guard this year. This is crazy COVID era. These guys are still around.
Yeah, trust me, I know. I got something for Luke too, man. I'm gonna give him a little body bump. You know, they're
well, I would like to. I would love to see the matchup too. It would mean that we both won Friday night. But look, I don't know this from Coach Rose, but I know Coach Rose well enough to know that he's going to put Luke Yoder, who's one of the best perimeter defenders in Division III, if not the best. He's going to put him on your guy. And I want to see that. I want to see Josiah and Luke for 40 minutes. And so, yeah, look, you need to win and we need to win, because we both agree we want to play. Like, I'm all in on that, Coach.
I mean, you got some pull up there, man. Can we just make this a classic, man? Let's take the pressure off of it. Come on,
look,
man.
It's going to be better because it's the pressure's on. Trust me. We both, our teams both need the pressure, but it's really cool that this has worked out. And I know that everyone up there is, you know, they're trying to make this tournament into a tournament where there's elite teams in Division III that come into it. And that's what Ron has going up there, and having you guys in it this year is enormous. So I know people, on campus are really excited about having you guys there. I'll be up there, bringing the little lady with me up there so she can meet Coach Cliff, and look forward to seeing you up there. Last question is, I know that we could probably talk 2 hours about hoops, but we're at like an hour already. I can't let you go without just getting a little take on Texas barbecue, because you are a connoisseur. And this is a serious question. I've got some buddies that are big barbecue guys. My buddy Mike Neal, aka Curly, head baseball coach at Blackburn, the Blackburn Beavers. Shout out to the Beavers. He's a huge barbecue guy. I'd like to connect you guys and have you talk about barbecue. Coach, give me 2 or 3 the best barbecue in Texas, because there's a lot of debate on this. The best barbecue in Texas, what do you have?
So, man, there's so much good stuff here. And since the barbecue boom, like there's been a lot of innovation and a lot of cool things, right? But I'll tell you, and this isn't me being a homer, and this isn't, but right here in Belton, Texas, we got Miller's Barbecue.
I know you love that. Yeah.
And Dirk Miller and his family are their barbecue is delicious, and they're great people. Back home where I grew up, about 10 miles down the road in Wolford, Texas, a place called Evie Mays. So if you're ever in Lubbock, and Evie Mays is cool. They got a great story. Just a husband and wife that started out, typical, started in a trailer, and now they got a huge business. But all over Texas, there's great barbecue. And, there's different types down here. So you have like you can go like to Panther City in Fort Worth and get like more of a Mexican kind of skewed barbecue. Sure. And here in Central Texas, we got more of the German Czech style, original salt and pepper, Right. You can go over to East Texas and get more of the saucy, with the hot leeks and the saucy ribs and stuff like that. So that's a cool thing to me, is barbecue is really, there's not just like one style or one type. It's like basketball, man. Like you can play all different styles and win, right? So the barbecue is the same thing. And there's so much innovation going on and so many new places to try. And, I love barbecue. I love cooking, I can't play sports anymore because of my foot injury. And, I still have that competitiveness, and coaches have to have a little balance in their life, right? So like I need something else to kind of challenge me and do some things. And I try to be a golfer, but unlike you, I'm awful. Just so bad. I try, but I have fun. But barbecue is like something I can do, and I'm good at it. And so, another cool thing is I've done 3 of my former players. I've catered their weddings.
Wow.
And so, this August, I got to do Gibson Hearn, who played for me last year, was a 3-year starter, great kid, 4.0 student, beautiful wife. So he asked me if I could do it. So we did chicken fajitas and pulled pork tacos for 300 people.
Wow.
Me and my wife.
Wow.
Right. So that was quite the undertaking. But yeah, I love barbecue, man. It's such a great community. It challenges me personally to keep, to be good and give me something to really keep my mind going in the off season and things like that. And then obviously it's like the quintessential, like, let's break some bread, go to a barbecue joint, share some brisket,
sit on a bench.
Yeah. Hammer out a deal, or talk about this, and it's just such a down home American kind of,
Yeah.
I love it. I think it's cool. Like I would hang out at barbecue festivals, all the time. Everybody always asks, well, if you weren't a coach, what would you do? So I'd be a barbecue critic, right? Like I just hang out at barbecue festivals, eat barbecue. And like, I made friends with all the people here in town. Of course, I love Dirk Miller and his crew. Over in Harker Heights, was 15 miles down the road. Retired Army, a guy named Stephen Rossler. He's retired out of the Army. We've got some like friends in common. But him and his wife Kristen is Rossler's Blue Cord Barbecue, so they're like my friends, So I kind of hang out with them, and
that's awesome.
Evie Mays. So man, barbecues is cool, man. It's a great. It's more than food, right? It's a lifestyle. It's a community. It's a attitude, right? And there's a lot of parallels between like running a barbecue restaurant and coaching a basketball team. People think I'm crazy, but it's true, right? So. Yeah, I'm very passionate about it. Yes, you can tell. Hopefully, maybe I don't know. I wasn't prepared. Should have been prepared.
No, it's a great and I'm not, and I don't know barbecue like you do. I've lived in Texas 10 years. I'm from Chicago. What I would say is I know what I like, and I love Salt Lick outside of Austin. I think that is awesome stuff. I like Pecan Lodge here in Dallas. I think that's awesome stuff. had some other ones, so I don't know it like you, but I certainly appreciate how much you love it. Um, Coach, again, I appreciate all your time and the fact that it's taken so long to do this on the QCast, but I thought the time was right with you coming up to our place to open the season, and I'm hoping that we can both get W's, and those will be tough first round games in order to get the matchup that we want to see, which would be super cool. What would you leave, Clif, the QCast listeners, viewers, today? What are your final thoughts today on the QCast?
Well, so I've got a steadfast rule when it comes to barbecue. Don't eat brisket outside of Texas, right? And I broke
Agreed.
my rule last year in Fort Wayne.
Yeah.
We all wear out the media guys. I got the invite to hang out with the media guys, right? I don't know what you guys letting the dumb basketball coach, but so we're sitting around a table, and I think it was Whitnable talked me into trying to brisket. I could be wrong, Ryan. Don't hold me to this, but I'm pretty sure it was you. So I sat down and I ordered the brisket there at that place. And Bob,
No, I agree.
no brisket outside of Texas.
Completely
Not barbecued. You know, maybe we get poppers to like get us some of the Jewish brisket out there. You know, like that's probably good, right?
I agree. It'd be delicious.
That's another trip I want to make. Elliot, let's make it happen, man.
You need to play yeshiva. You do.
I would love to do it. Man, I love what I do, man. Like, this is so much fun. I can't wait to get the season started. This year's going to be a great challenge for us because of all the new, certainly have a great player to start with. That helps. But I really appreciate, the national guys really, really giving us a respect, because I didn't expect us to be voted in the top 25. And I think that, pretty much if you look at the points, like I think we got votes from a lot of the voters. So that shows me that we've kind of gained some respect nationally, and even though that we didn't return what necessarily would look like it, but there's some respect for Joe and there's some respect for me as a coach. So that means a lot to me. Just wanted all the voters to know that, and that means that we're doing right here at Mary Hardin-Baylor. I appreciate my administration for giving me the resources to do this, and we're going to really fight to make this one of the preeminent Division III teams in the country, and this won't be the last of it. This won't be the last year here at Mary Hardin-Baylor. Like, we're going to continue to put great players in this program, and we're going to do things the right way. And, we're going to play a national schedule, and hopefully, people get sick and tired of UMHB basketball like they're sick and tired of UMHB football, right? So, that's our goal is to get our basketball program to where Coach Fredenberg and Coach Harmon had the football. But certainly I have a lot of fun here. I think life's too short to be too stressed out about it and not have fun. So let's put a smile on our face and let's make some friends and eat some barbecue.
Yeah, that's very well said. And again, I think you're one of the characters in D3 hoops. You're Riot. I hope people picked up on that through the show. I hope people in Bloomington take the time to say hi to Clif Carroll up at the Shirk Center. I know they're going to love having the team there. And have a great year. So this is a great time of year.
I got one concern though, Bob, that's something that everybody's got to watch out for. We're gonna have to overcome this. Waterboy Waylon is not going to be on the trip. His mama wouldn't let him skip school.
Oh boy.
And so when Waterboy Waylon's on the bench, like, we don't lose a whole lot, right? So
yeah, that's good news. That's good. Actually, it's the best thing I've heard all day.
So coach, all the coaches, they can thank my wife, because if it was up to me, he'd be on a plane and he'd be there. But apparently we can't skip school for silly games or something. I don't know. So
what about Willie?
So Willie, no, Willie's gonna join the Waterboy staff this year. He informed me. So, but I told him Willie's a little different. Waylon's very serious and is going to do his job. Willie's a little more of a free spirit and kind of he's his own person. So I don't know if Willie's quite taking it as serious as Waylon did. But we're going to give him a tryout and see if he can handle being a water boy this year. But it's so much fun having my boys down there with me, though. That it's, having them around my guys is cool. So, but yeah, Waylon's not going to be there, so everybody can take that off your scouting report, man. You'll be okay.
That's all. I'm sending that to Coach Rose right now, and that's going to be pretty much big news. Clif Carroll, thank you so much for doing this. I've appreciated getting to know you in the gyms over the last few years, and kind of being down here in Texas, I get to see you play every year. So this has been great. And it's going to be pretty special to have you up in the building in Bloomington in a week and a half. So Great to see you, my friend, and we'll see you in Bloomington.
Hey, you're always welcome down here in Belton, man. I'll take you by Miller's. We get some great barbecue. You watch practice, hang out, man. Come hang out sometime.
I promise we'll do that sometime this season. I'm traveling a lot around the state for work, and I promise that I'll take you up on that. Clif, thank you so much, folks. Season 4, episode 11 of the QCast. That's Clif Carroll. We'll see you next time, folks. Thank you.